Why are companies still storing AWS access keys on servers and vaults in 2026? Actually, why are we still using long-lived AWS access keys at all for server access? Because this is still everywhere. Plain text AWS credentials sitting in config files, CI/CD pipelines, environment variables, developer laptops, and sometimes even on public GitHub repositories. And the moment these credentials leak, that's not the situation anybody wants to be in. But AWS actually created a completely different authentication model for server access called IAM Roles Anywhere. And honestly, most AWS teams still aren't using it. So today, let's see how it works. Step 1. Create certs for your server using your company's PKI infrastructure. For this demo, I'm generating a self-signed certificate authority and a workload certificate locally. The CA certificate becomes the trust root, and the laptop certificate becomes the workload identity. And importantly, these are not AWS access keys. We are moving towards machine identity. Next, we register our certificate authority in AWS as a trust anchor. I'm going to run the AWS Roles Anywhere create trust anchor command to establish this trust. You can confirm this from the AWS IAM Roles section. There you would see a section for IAM Roles Anywhere. And within the section, we can see the trust anchor we just registered. You can also see the CA root certificate associated with this trust here. And here's an interesting security detail. There is actually no independent expiration for the trust anchor itself. The lifetime of this trust depends entirely on the expiration of the CA certificate, which in the case of this demo is May 2036. Now step 3, we create the IAM Anywhere role. And in the trust policy, we specify the principal as rolesanywhere.amazonaws.com. And from a security standpoint, we also add two important guardrails. The AWS principal tag ensures that the role only trusts certificates with a specific common name, and AWS source ARN ensures that the certificate should come from a trusted CA only. Now we create the IAM role using that trust policy and give it minimal S3 read access. And finally, it's also mandatory for roles anywhere to have a profile, so we create that too. So finally, let's actually access AWS using the workload certificate. We'll be using the AWS signing helper credential process command. We pass in the workload certificate, the private key, the trust ARN, trust anchor ARN, profile ARN, and the IAM role ARN. And in exchange, AWS returns short-lived temporary credentials. So instead of storing long-lived AWS access keys on servers, IAM Roles Anywhere lets workloads authenticate using certificates. And that dramatically reduces the risk associated with static AWS access keys.